Hi, I'm Clare Wilson, and this is my presentation for Sustainable Prospects. I have become aware that through this MA that my role as a mother and main caregiver has become to define my photography. I have skirted around this issue since the start of my course and decided that I needed to address this head on by turning the camera onto my home environment. This project was initiated as a response to the intense emotions I felt when my children returned to school after 5 months at home due to COVID. It is always a huge time of readjustment for me and ultimately leaves me questioning my role and identity as a mother with their absence. It is a process of reconnecting with myself. I wanted to capture the feeling of silence and abandonment that I felt with their return to school. I wanted to capture the traces of their existence and the fleeting memories of their activities and play, of the everyday, which are so often overlooked. They represent a time of transformation, a restructuring of my identity, my time, and my family unit. John Berger writes, photographs bear witness to a human choice being exercised in a given situation. A photograph is a result of the photographer's decision that it is worth recording that this particular event or this particular object has been seen. However, this work feels like a liminal space for me, the capturing of a moment in between recognizing and wanting to record something and the need to undertake some form of domestic activity. The images feel like a call to action. I kept being pulled back to this domestic aspect in the work and how the intensity of lockdown placed increased pressure on me with regards to this extra workload I had become responsible for. I knew that I was not the only woman who was feeling this additional pressure of balancing the increased demands placed on us. Clare Gallagher, in her work The Second Shift, describes this hidden work as it is physical, mental, and emotional labour which demands effort, skill, and time, but is unpaid, unaccounted for, unequally distributed, and largely unrecognised. Clare's work acted as a catalyst for me to refocus my work on this issue of hidden labour. As the women's movement took hold in the 1960s and 70s, many women artists reflected on the representation of women and mothers in the art and media and created an investigation into their identities and the coding of women in the media. Women artists have embraced photography in radical ways and often turned the camera on themselves. They have moved away from objectifying women and motherhood to create a much more considered approach between the subject and object, viewer and the viewed. Women not only wanted to work with the medium of photography and film, but they also wanted to work within it. Merle Ladyman Euclides states in her work entitled Maintenance Art, I'm an artist, I'm a woman, I'm a wife, I'm a mother. Random order. I do a hell of a lot of washing up, cleaning, cooking, renewing, supporting, preserving. Also, up to now, separately, I do art. Now I will do these maintenance, everyday things and flush them up to the consciousness and exhibit them as art. I connected very strongly with her description here, as these are at times conflicted areas for me, which have been exaggerated with lockdown. Susan Bright's book, Home Truth, discusses the complexity and contradictions of motherhood as the swings between excess and loss, abundance and void. And perhaps there is a synergy between the various identities and representation of motherhood and the confusing place of photography's identity in the 21st century. The UN Women have produced a report recently about how the coronavirus pandemic could wipe out 25 years of gender equality as women are significantly impacted by the virus and the weight of domestic chores and family life are falling more on their shoulders. Even before the pandemic, it was estimated women were doing about 3/4 of the 16 billion hours of unpaid work that are done each day around the world. I wanted to explore this issue of hidden labour within my own domestic space, but I also wanted to reference how women were depicted as unseen and as hidden mothers in the Victorian era, and how mothers became an item of furniture, an object, not a subject, or in my case, an extension of the domestic item. I wanted to disrupt the gender stereotypes, and my work acts as a quiet rebellion against the expectations that society places on women. I went through a number of variations on the theme. I struggled with both the limitations of my camera lens and the space within my home, so settled on isolating and stripping back my imagery to a much more unemotional response to this topic of hidden labour. The addition of the quotes from Caroline Perez's book, Invisible Women, I believe gives greater depth to the project and allows the viewer to think longer and harder about the implications and message within the work. It contextualises the work and makes it stronger and more powerful. Jo Spence discusses community art in her book entitled Cultural Snipings, and as we were in lockdown again, I felt it would be an interesting exercise to put this work out into the community by asking some female friends to respond to my work by displaying it in their own private domestic spaces. I am aware that this work really resonates with women and the mothers, and I wanted to create a dialogue around the work and raise the issue up to the consciousness. Grant Scott discusses in his book that the exhibition no longer has any rules to restrict its format. It is an organic format that responds to the work to be shown. It continues a theme that I developed in Module 3 around the placing of my work outside of the traditional gallery setting. It allows the environment the image is held within to become an active member in the scene. And we as photographers must adapt to this changing and highly competitive marketplace and find new ways to present our work and differentiating it from other photographers. Thank you for listening.